All right, let's talk about this. Let's welcome in right now boxing promoter Lou DiBella and UFC commentator and all-round personality Joe Rogan. Joe, let me start with you. Will mixed martial arts peak and fall like kickboxing, or will it become a permanent part of the sports culture?
Well, I certainly think it's a permanent part of the sports culture. It's a much more exciting sport than any of the other combat sports that are out there right now. And that's why it's here, and that's why it's the fastest growing sport in the world.
Lou, what do you think of UFC?
I'm not a big fan, but I tend to agree with Joe that it seems to have a fan base. It's one company dominating an entire industry. My guess is that as long as they can continue to get young white guys to watch, they're gonna be there for a long time.
Do you think it stays around? Does it compete with boxing or overtake boxing, Lou?
It's got nothing to do with boxing, the same way wrestling has nothing to do with boxing. It's a different form of entertainment. It's in a cage.
Yeah, but pro wrestling is fake. I mean, this is actual combat competition, Lou. That's very different from WWE.
Yeah, but it's sort of like human cockfighting in my view, or pit bull fighting. Guys are elbowing each other to the heads. Guys are kneeing each other. They get into leg locks and start rolling around on the ground in submission holes.
Joe, you care to respond to that first, Joe?
How is that human cockfighting? You know what that is? That's actual fighting. You know what boxing is? Well, boxing is a very limited form of fighting. It's kind of a silly agreement. Say, like, we hate each other, we're going to fight, we're going to duke it out man to man, but we're only going to use our hands. That's it. What ultimate fighting is, it's the actual sport of fighting. It encompasses all aspects of fighting: ground game, kicking, punching, elbows, submissions, all the above. That's why it's much more exciting. That's why it's a much more dynamic sport. What boxing is one aspect of mixed martial arts.
So boxing, MMA, can both of these exist on their own? Is there a natural transition from boxing to MMA, perhaps more than any other sport? Because after all, we're seeing football guys get into it, some baseball guys getting into MMA. Well, what about boxers? And two of these guys are leaning that way. Ray, I want to start with you first on this, because you've actually had a taste, some kickboxing. You fought Kimbo Slice in an exhibition. You knocked out Tim Sylvia to win your Bozzy Award. So what have you noticed about MMA compared to boxing?
Well, compared to boxing, MMA, for one thing, you have got to be in hella shape. And you have to know the ground game. I mean, MMA makes boxing look kind of easy when it comes to the training, because, you know, boxing, you're only training for one thing, that's the box, to throw your fist. But when you're in there and you're in that cage and you got to go ground and ground and pound and all that, you got to do a lot of training. And actually, the training is actually harder than the actual fights, really. You know, as far as I'm concerned, 'cause I hadn't been in one of those real nasty brawls yet. But you know, I give MMA a lot of credit.